Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King. And today I'm going to be giving you part 10 of What If Naruto Was Exiled from the Otsutsuki clan. Remember to get this one to 100 like as usual. Share this to all of your friends in your social media platform. And also guys, go ahead and check out the brand new series over on Anime King 2 of What If Naruto Became the 6th Hokage after Nagato was defeated, and enjoy that guys. And remember, if you're new, to go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become a part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all for helping us support. And yeah, without further ado, what is to begin this new episode? Remember, go ahead and check out the other channels, which I have 3 of guys. They will all be down in the description for you guys to enjoy, and stay tuned for a brand new episode of Anime King. And yeah, without further ado, let's begin this. Start the intro. So, the last spot we left off, as we start with the masked man that was making his way when he came upon a blue-haired woman. It was Konan, a member of the group known as the Akatsuki. As she brought him somewhere, he then sat down with Tendo, the leader of the Akatsuki, Pain, as both of them spoke about their plans and about the tail beasts that they wanted to gather. It seems that the other nations had conquered back the tail beasts and are keeping them under lock and key because they haven't been sighted over the past couple of years. But things were different now, and they will succeed. With that, the masked man simply vanished. There was no flicker of chalk or anything, he just vanished. It wasn't a clone, he had some strange abilities after all. With that, he made his way as Zetsu came up to speak to him. The man wanted to annihilate Konoha, as he made that perfectly clear. But it wasn't time for that yet, as he made his way towards the underground passageway, where someone was inside. Judging by the way that he spoke to her, it was a girl. As she told him that she was bored, as he told that he would take her to see Konan once again. But they would begin soon enough, as he told that he saw that she's improving. As she smiled at that, but her features are hidden in the room. We then skip back to Konoha, as Menma was facing off against Sasuke when he did something crazy, and he found himself in mid-air. He didn't know what the hell was going on. As Naruto fly up and catch him, they spend more time at the Uchiha compound before they left. As someone bumped into Menma without apologizing, Naruto grabbed him. When he saw Menma, the man snarled, knowing that it's a demon, as Naruto saw the hatred in man's eyes. As Naruto tossed him straight up in the air. As Naruto eventually catch him though. As the man went on his knees and begged for forgiveness. As Menma wasn't sure how to respond, the man ran off, as everything caught up to him as he fainted. With that, Naruto and Menma made their way, as Menma brought him to the apartment. Naruto had a knack for cooking, as he saw the fridge was full. As Menma said that Rin usually come and take the money that Hokage gave him. Well, most of it, but she used it all on healthy things for him. She knew that he would buy just ramen, as Naruto saw that his fridge was packed, all kinds of healthy food, and vegetables all over, and she also bought furniture for him. And Naruto was sure that all of Hokage money could not do this, so perhaps the woman was using her own mission P, tell the boy. As that made Naruto truly grateful for her. Some time passed after that, as Naruto had moved Menma towards the Senju compound, given the fact that his apartment was too small. And the Senju compound was vacant. Naruto still couldn't believe that all of the Senjus were wiped out in the war. As Naruto was busy training Menma, as the boy wanted to become as strong as him. When Menma went home to get washed up, Jiraiya arrived. Jiraiya was pissed off at Naruto after all he knew what Tsunade went through when Naruto vanished. She cried. She was always sad whenever his name came up, whenever people talk about the wrathful god. But Naruto did not concern himself with Jiraiya. He just wanted to know where she was. Jiraiya told him that he would be coming along, as Naruto told him that was fine. So, as the time passed, Naruto got Menma as both of them left the village, along with Jiraiya. As they made their way, Menma ended up falling asleep on Naruto's back. Tsunade was in the gambling town. As she was winning, she was shocked. She was actually winning, something was wrong. As Tsunade was making her way, she felt something as she heard someone call her. Her name. The name that he gave her, a nickname. Only one other person knew this, and it was Hoshirama. And her grandfather was gone. So, that means, as Navi turned to see the white eyes and the white hair, she lost it. The chakra that exploded out of her shook the ground beneath her as the people were afraid, as she launched forward to pummel him to death. So yeah guys, that's basically that's what I thought. You guys can switch across the blade check for yourself. So let's begin this new episode. We begin this new episode at the unknown location, as the place was large, vacant, nothing but large rocks, and steep. A steep drop over to the side. Despite the long drop down, someone was climbing up. It was a girl. She literally dig her hand into the wall as she pulled herself up with nothing but raw strength. She wasn't using chakra, just raw strength. As she pulled herself up, pulling and pulling herself, as she flipped and landed on the chasm. This girl was short. She was nothing but a kid after all, and yet her strength was impressive, abnormal. She was wearing black pants. She was wearing a white t-shirt with an obi wrapped around her stomach. She had blonde hair and purple eyes. She smirked as she opened her eyes as she focused on the Zetsus running towards her. There were a lot of them, about 50 in total. They were coming at her with the intent to kill. As she stepped forward, her feet literally breaking the ground as she moved. She stepped into the ground so hard that it obliterated. She twisted her body as she smashed her foot in the first Zetsu's face. His body crumbled up and died, as her strength was ridiculous, despite her only being 7 to 8 years old. She grabbed another one and twisted his head clean off his body before using his body to bash in 2 others. She flipped as she launched herself into the crowd of white Zetsus. She decimated them. They didn't stand a chance. Over to the side, a man was sitting down. His long black hair blowing in the wind. His black eyes focused on the little girl. It was none other than the masked man. But he wasn't wearing his mask. He had a smile on his face though, as he just watched her as she fought. His Sharingan sprang to life as he saw her chakra flowing through her body. Amazing, he thought. He watched as she crushed all of the 50 Zetsus. They didn't stand a chance against her. As she looked towards him, a smile came on her face as she rushed over. That was too easy, she said. She composed herself. I need a better challenge. How about you face me? You're not ready for me yet, he said. Well, let's have a go, shall we? She didn't say anything more. She shot off, breaking the ground. The man moved just in time as her fist collided with the stone. As she tore it down, she twisted in mid-air as she rocked it off, using chakra to propel herself towards him. The man had to move as she destroyed a smaller part of the canyon. She smashed into the outer wall as she leaped back up before crashing down. You trained me to be a warrior, to be as strong as I can to prepare for the future that is gonna come, for what we need to do. Why won't you fight me directly? Because you're not ready yet. And yet you never proved that, she said, as she narrowed her eyes towards him dangerously, as he simply watched her. Before he raised his hand and beckoned for her to come, her face was delighted as she shot forward, as she pulled her fist back and launched it. But something blocked her. Her fist connected with something strange. It just appeared out of nowhere. Some kind of barrier that shielded the man. Before she could ponder on that though, something hit her. It hit her with such force her body broke into the ground. But she did not give up as she jumped back up. She channeled chakra through her hand before she sent her fist forward. A literal shockwave of chakra burst through the air as it came down towards him. The man's jump as ground was obliterated. He looked up to see her as her feet was coming down toward his skull. He twisted his body as he grabbed her leg. He then twisted her and launched her down towards the ground. She slammed into it, but she rocked it back towards him, the head butted him right in the stomach. But then he vanished. It wasn't like he teleported or anything, he just vanished. The next moment she saw him over there to the distance, and he was sitting down. She grumbled as she launched herself over there and stopped. I told you that you weren't ready yet. I'm just a kid. Soon enough, I'll be strong enough to defeat you, she said. Maybe one day, he said, as his eyes returned back to normal. When are we going back to the Hidden Rain? This place is boring. And these Zetsus, they're getting annoying, she said. Soon, he said. Fine, she said. I'm all sweaty. As she started to walk off. Mark my words, father. One day, you will be no match for me. As he simply watched her, she left. As there was a tiny smirk on his face, everything was going according to plan. Meanwhile, blonde hair shuffled a bit as Menma slowly opened his eyes when he felt trembling. He was in Jiraiya's arms, as he didn't know what was going on. The next moment his eyes focused as he saw something slam into his JJ. It was a blonde woman. Snappy reared her fist back as she slammed it into Naruto's chest once again. The amount of chakra that was seeping from her core, her hands, could obliterate a mountain. Yet, Naruto did not move an inch. His skin was metallic. Menma noticed that as he watched, as this strange woman beat into his JJ, her fist compacted over and over and over and over again, shaking the entire town. But yet he did not move. He saw his JJ face that was filled with remorse and regret and sadness as Menma jumped out of Jiraiya's arms. Jiraiya was surprised that he wasn't focused on Boy as Menma rushed forward. JJ, what's going on? He asked as Naruto turned his head towards the boy. Snappy's fist kept on beating over and over in his chest on his face as her rage was coming out in full force. Tears were leaking from her eyes as she kept on beating onto him without saying a single word, trying to force him down, trying to break him down, but yet he did not budge. She felt like she was hitting stone over and over again. Naruto raised his hands to Menma. Stay, he said, as Menma stopped, until Snappy wore herself out. She panted as she kept on punching his chest, her fists getting weaker and weaker. As she then looked up at him, as she stepped back, the ground behind him was obliterated. The two forces collided together, the shockwave through the town, as many things had been shaken up. No one was where they were because everyone ran away, thinking that they were gonna die. Jiraiya has never seen Snappy that angry before. Yes, sometime he perved on her and she punched him, but those hits were not normal. If Naruto was a normal person, he would have been dead a long time ago. But he wasn't, was he? Suna, said Naruto. Don't call me that, she said, her glare so hard it would make any lesser man falter. But Naruto was different. Suna, he said once again, as she glared at him so intensely. Shizune was afraid to get in between them or told her master to stop, because her master was clearly trying to kill this person. And if Shizune was not mistaken, she knew exactly who this was. Why are you here? Asked Navi, as her fists were still clenched and bulging. Steam was literally coming from them. Why are you showing your face to me now after all these years? Why have you come back? She said to him. I'm here to apologize, he said to her. Snappy laughed. Apologize? As she shook her head. You're kidding, right? No. As he stepped forward. Do not come near to me, she said to him. After all these years, you're telling me that you're back to apologize? Yes. Well, screw you, she said. You can take that apology and shove it. Because I don't want it. I don't need you anymore. A long time ago I was such an arrogant, stupid girl who thought I could rely on someone like you. But you let me down. You've been a bigger disappointment than anything else in my life. So take your apology and get the hell away from me. As Naruto felt it, each of her words hit hard, but he deserved it. He stepped forward same way as her glare intensified. I was a coward, he said as he stopped. Damn right you were. I couldn't face you after what I let happen. Despite getting my revenge on those people who took everything away from me, I couldn't face you or Pinto. I just couldn't, said Naruto. I I was a coward. I know that I hurt you deeply by just leaving and never returning after all these years. Not just me, you arrogant bastard, she said. You hurt everyone. Mito cried. She thought that at least you would be there. Her sister had just died. And yet, where were you? You went away. You left us. We are your family, and yet you just abandon us and leave. I know you want to come back to apologize. As I said before, screw you. As she turned her back on him and started to walk away. Suna, no! I don't want to ever see your face again, she said. You know what the messed up part of this thing was? If you had come back, if you hadn't been such an arrogant jackass who only thought about himself, you'd have actually been able to raise your daughter. But no, you went away, like the coward you are. And she left. Shizune, let's go. Shizune nodded as she quickly went behind Snaddy. Jerry did not get in her way because he saw that she was in no mood, as he just let her leave. As Minma went up to his grandfather, JJ, he said. As Naruto looked towards him with a smile, he tried his best to smile at the boy. Are you okay? He asked. Yeah, said Naruto. Oh, don't worry, JJ. I'll never leave you, said Minma. Doesn't matter what happened. Thank you, said Naruto. Minma stomached and rumbled. I'm hungry, he said, as he started to laugh. As that made Naruto laugh as well, despite the pain that he was feeling in his heart. Later that night, Snaddy couldn't keep her mind at peace. She could not sleep. Her brain was racked with anger and rage. A tiny, 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 tiny part of her was surprised that he was back, and maybe even glad to see him, but the other was just unbridled rage after everything that he did, just leaving like that, making them go through that hell without anyone there for them. Him, the person that was always strong, mental and physical, he was always there when she was a child. He gave her that nickname, Suna. He was always there for her, and now she rocked her head as she sat down in her bed. As she was currently in a hotel, she hadn't left the town. She didn't know why she hadn't left the town, but she would definitely leave tomorrow. Shizune was in her own room sleeping. They would miss out on a huge gambling festa, but she didn't want to be anywhere near that man. Snaddy heard a knock on her window, and that shocked her, given the fact that she was in a hotel. Couple feet off the ground. Yes, Ninja could scale up the wall like this easily, but who would knock? Her face turned into a scowl as she went towards the window, stomping angrily. The lower level, the person underneath her hotel room, actually saw their ceiling shake as she moved the curtains. As she saw Naruto standing there, I thought I told you I never want to see you again. Naruto waved his hand as Snaddy watched as the lock turned. He was controlling the metal as he stepped inside the hotel. Are you going to force me to talk to you now? Because it doesn't matter if I'm talking to you. I'll still hate you from the bottom of my heart. I know, said Naruto, as he stood in her hotel room. Just let me say what I have to say first, and I won't bother you again. I promise. Fine. Say what you have to say and leave me the hell alone. As Naruto sighed, he sat down in the bed. He had his back turned to her, so she could not see his face. I knew what I did was selfish. Damn right, she said. Just let me speak, said Naruto. I'm begging you. She snarled, but she didn't say anything else. After what I saw, it broke me. Never, in my entire life, have I ever loved someone more than how I love Kuchina. Never had I ever had a family that I actually care for it. In the past, my own mother and father, they didn't see me as a, well, child. To them I was an adult. Someone that they shouldn't even take care of or look after. That is just how things are, the way I was grown, said Naruto. So at first I wasn't used to it. You growing up, it was nice. Because you were like the daughter I hadn't have. It was fun to spend time with you. And it hurt when I found out that Kushina was sick. I spent so long searching, said Naruto as he reached in his shirt, for this, as he showed her as he held it behind him before putting it back. When I finally found it, I returned, and they were all gone. I lost myself in anger and rage, and most of all self-pity. I blamed myself. After all, to you people, every ninja amongst this elemental nation, I am not normal, borderline, pushing towards the limit of godlyhood. But that is just the strength of Otsutsuki, said Naruto. But I'm stronger. Get to the damn point, she said. I am, said Naruto. When I got my revenge, I thought it would make me feel something, to know that I got rid of those bastards who took everything away from me, but yet I didn't. I could not face you or Mito because I knew I was horrible. I was a cruel person that couldn't live on with what had happened to me. Sooner or later I would snap. And I did. Over the past 30 years, I had killed thousands. Past that limit, something that would make you see me as worse of a monster that you already see me as. You might hate me forever. And that's justified for what I did, for just leaving you like that in that crucial moment. But it would never be enough to what I feel to myself. Knowing that I had a daughter here the entire time and I never got a chance to raise her. Kushina had made me promise that I should look after our child. If it isn't for Minma, that little boy right there, her son, my grandson. When I came back here and found out that I had a daughter, I would have ended everything because I wouldn't see the point of living anymore. Knowing that I couldn't even get at least to meet my daughter. But that little boy, I can't leave him alone, said Naruto. I'll be staying in Konoha from now on, to take care of him. As I said, you can hate me forever. Something that I deserve. But through and through, I will still see you as my family. It doesn't matter what happened. And I'm deeply sorry. I know that doesn't mean much to anything, but I'm truly sorry, said Naruto as he got to his feet. For everything you said. I'll leave you alone now, he said. As he started to walk away, he simply went through the window as he flew off. Tsunade broke down when he was gone, as tears filled her eyes, as she dropped on the ground crying. She hated him for leaving her. She hated him, but yet, the situation, that everything that happened, she felt sorry for him, pity, but she hated him, and she couldn't forgive him. She just couldn't. After just leaving her like that, after everything was taken away, and worse to make it worse, after Naoki died, and she had no one else. Dan died. Mito was gone and everything, and she was alone. And then Kushina died. That was her final straw. Kushina was like a sister to her. Tsunade had wanted to bring that boy with her. She had wanted to bring Minma with her out of the village and raise her. He was her family after all. They were all family. But Sir Toby could not allow that. Politics, bullshit and all that. And given the state of the world, if anyone found out, things would be rather hectic on her. And that just broke her and she left. Throughout the past year, she has been doing nothing but drinking and gambling. Nothing more, nothing less. And now he's back apologizing. And she couldn't forgive him. She just couldn't. At least he will leave her alone now. She didn't want to see his face again. He hurt her too much as she lied on the bed. She tried to get some sleep, trying to clear her mind, but yet she could not sleep that night. Time skip. At Konoha. So, said Sarutobi as took a puff of his pipe. Things didn't go well, huh? As Jiraiya shook his head, as he had returned back to the village, she lost it when she saw him. She attacked him. If he was any normal person, he would have been dead. She's that angry, huh? Yeah. And this is gonna make things worse, you know that, right? Said Jiraiya as he looked towards his sensei. She's definitely not gonna want to come back now. As Sarutobi sighed as he looked through the window. Yeah, I figured that much. So why did you send me to help him look for her? Even if you did not, you would have found her somehow. I figure somewhere, somehow, that she would come to forgive him, maybe soon, and return back to the village to be with her family, said Sarutobi. She hates me, you know. As Jiraiya narrowed his eyes, you couldn't let anyone adopt him. If you had, things would have been worse than you. and everyone else and even her. They would have been after her. This village, despite their will of fire, when it comes towards power, it is unlikely that they would follow rules. As Hiruzen sighed, the day that he forbade Tsunade from adopting Naruto, she had lost it on him, as she was his family after all. He had gave her an option. She could stay here and she could adopt him. She could raise him as her own. But he couldn't let her leave the village with Naruto. And that is what she couldn't do. She couldn't stay here with Naruto. This place had brought her too much pain. So she eventually left, after swearing to never come back here. He had even go as far to threaten her. If she did not come back, he would brand her a missing name. She told him that she didn't give a damn about Konoha anymore. And if you want to do that, send him. But he wouldn't like what happened to his ninjas. From that moment he knew that he lost her. And he couldn't say anything to bring her back. And they haven't talked since. He knew that Tsunade would most likely do something that she couldn't take back. And then, well, he didn't want to go that far. That is why he hadn't sent any ninja to bring her back forcefully. Things wouldn't be good for either of them. And despite everything, she was a student. Ex-student, but still. He trained her. He got her through some of her hardship when Naruto had left. Well, he tried to, but things were difficult. Too difficult. As the man sighed, Sensei, what are we gonna do about the whole situation with him? I don't know. I can't exactly forcefully control him. Despite everything with politics and all that, he doesn't really concern himself with that. He's already said it right in front of the council, that if they try anything, he will simply take Menma with him. And if we try to forcefully keep Menma away, he would raise his village to hell. Jiraiya clenched his fists before he released his palm, knowing that Naruto could do so if he wished. But we can't just let things go along this way, Jiraiya said. In the past, those 3 villages took what is most precious to him. And now Menma is the most thing precious to him right now. He doesn't care a damn about this village, me or anyone else. Only Menma. And that boy is the only thing that is protecting us, Jiraiya. As hard as it is to say this, our forces, none of us stand a chance against him. Jiraiya could not refute that claim because he saw it firsthand. One of Tsunade's punches would have liquefied a ninja inside, but Naruto tanked them, although his body turned that strange color. He didn't even weave any hand sign. Jiraiya didn't even feel any fluctuation of chakra. His body just changed, adapt into some kind of steel. Jiraiya knew that Naruto wasn't someone to be taken lightly, or else they will all regret it. But still, Sensei, we can't just let things go on like this. What if he does turn against Konoha? None of us can stop him. And the way things are now, he can do as he please. You said that he just moved into the Senju compound. That place has been locked up for years now. And you forbid anyone else from taking the land or doing anything to it. But he moved in without giving you an answer, or even talking to you first. He should know that you're the Hokage here. Hiruzen rubbed a hand over his face. He just didn't know how to approach the subject. If he tried to push his will on Naruto, he knew that things wouldn't go well, as Naruto would probably just take Menma and fly away. Although Menma wanted to become Hokage, if Naruto took him away, Menma could not force her to make him bring him back. But Sarutobi knew that Naruto would not do that to cause Menma any pain. That is one thing that they have, is love for Menma. But he really didn't know what to do. Later that night, as Naruto stepped in the room and gave Menma the glass as Menma sipped the water, "Ah," he said, with a big smile on his face, as he was lying down in his bed. "Well, good night," said Naruto. Wait. As Naruto looked back at Menma, "Sorry that your friend did not be nice with you when you met up with her. But I don't want you to be sad, JJ. Because I'll do my best to be here for you as much as possible. And also you can become friends with my friends as well. I'm sure they will like you, know that you're a part of my life, and my family." As Naruto simply smiled at that. "And I'll always be here for you as well. Okay, JJ?" "Thank you," said Naruto. "Well, that is what family do for each other." "Yeah, they do," said Naruto. "So, we're gonna begin my training tomorrow again." As Naruto nodded, as Menma smiled with a fist punch in the ear before his hand dropped back down. "Alright, JJ," he says, he yawned. "See you tomorrow. I love you," he said. "Love you too," said Naruto. as Minma went to sleep, as Naruto left the room. Later that night, as Naruto stood in front of the memorial stone, as he looked at a name, they were side by side, Kushina Uzumaki and Minato Namikaze. As Naruto smiled, from what he heard so far, his daughter had a wonderful life. Although saddened by him not being there, she had a wonderful life. But it pained him. He told Stan the truth. Nothing could hurt him more than knowing that he messed up by not being here for his daughter. It made him miserable. But he had to keep focus on Minma, as that boy was the one that was bringing back light to him. He knew that Snatty would hate him, as he always knew that for what he did, her temper was always wild as a child. So he did not expect her to forgive him. Maybe in the far future, he hoped, but there was a slim chance. But for now, he will focus on Minma to make the boy as strong as possible. Time skip. 2 years later. 2 years has passed since Naruto returned back to Konoha. As we begin this new episode on an empty field, Sasuke was frowning. Well, given that he was lying down in a destroyed tree. The pain. That is why the frown was on his face as he slowly picked himself up. As he got to his feet slowly, as Sasuke was panting hard, he looked tired, and his frown and a twist of anger in his face looked like he was really pissed off. Over to the other side, there was another boy standing there. Minma has grown a few inches over the past 2 years. Both boys now 10 years old, doing their daily sparring session. Sasuke, eyes were showing the Sharingan, a totem in both eyes. Sasuke's determination to never be left behind pushed him to greater heights for him to unlock his Sharingan while facing off against Minma. Although, Minma wasn't telling Sasuke everything that was going on with him, given the fact that he had seals all over his body that made him not use his full capacity, as his grandfather told him that it was for the best, because if he was to fight Sasuke for real, it'd probably end up hurting him. Minma was not normal, that he came to realize. He never had actual true ninja training before. Yes, Rain-san did teach him a few things, but nothing really solid. But now with his grandfather teaching him, and told him that he had great power inside of him, he recently found out that his grandfather was right. But he hadn't showed it to Sasuke yet because he didn't want to destroy Sasuke's pride. Because his grandfather told him that he wasn't normal like any other ninja. And it was, well, Sasuke would see it as being unfair. And Minma didn't want Sasuke to get too jealous for him to stop being friends with him. They were good friends, rivals as well, but he didn't want to go too far because Sasuke always wanted to be seen as the stronger one, but that didn't mean that Minma would make him think that he was the best. Minma still beat him down, but he wasn't using his full power. Over on the bench, sitting down there with a smile, was none other than Naruto. As he watched the two boys perform and fight out there, Sasuke had come a long way. Sasuke recently come by the house a lot of time, as Sasuke didn't outright ask him for training. But whenever Minma was practicing with Naruto, he always got involved as well. The boy was just like Aizuna. He has this stubborn way about him, but yet when he was intrigued, he was intrigued. Not to mention he looked just like him. It always made Naruto smile. They were like the complete same person, judging from their attitude and the way they loved their bigger brother, just like how Aizuna loved Madara. Sasuke loved Itachi. As Naruto got to meet Itachi, Itachi was a humble, kind person. He was one of the few good people in this village, because there wasn't a lot of good people in this village. Some of them was rotten to the core, as Naruto's sensory ability was personal than any other Uzumaki. He could literally see the person, the vile contentment, just by the facial reaction. He could feel their chakra if it was tainted. Most of them around here was tainted with darkness, selfish, wicked. Most of them was filled with self-loathing, like this person beside him. As Naruto heard that giggle, his eye twitched. Beside him, Kakashi was reading his book and giggling. Somehow they became good friends. Kakashi also reminded him of Kakashi, his friend, his best friend. Kakashi had died protecting the city of the Uzumakis. But Kakashi wasn't a pervert, but they did have similar, well, things about them. In some ways, and Naruto felt good hanging out with him. The both of them had met up around the memorial stone, as Naruto did not know that Minma was good friends with Kakashi as well. because Kakashi wasn't there when he was introduced him to Rin. So Naruto recently found out. But one thing that Naruto could not stand was that perverted book that the man loved to read. As Naruto knew that Jiraiya was a pervert from the moment that he saw him, and now he found that he was the one that wrote this book. You know, I'm gonna take that away and rip it up, said Naruto. Come on Naruto, said Kakashi. You just don't understand true literature. I told you to give it a try, but you read a few pages and you were done. If you had read a bit more, you'd have understand about the story even more, and I bet you would have liked it. No, I wouldn't, said Naruto. I'm not really like you. You say so, but yet you're afraid to give it a try. As Kakashi narrowed his eyes towards Naruto, but Naruto simply shrugged him off. Kakashi liked hanging out with Naruto because he was different from the others. Unlike Guy, who was always trying to fight him, and the others who were always trying to invite him to drink with them or something else. He didn't really mind or didn't really care, and that was something that Kakashi could respect, because Naruto did not force or ask him to hang out with him. Sometimes they met up because they were in the same place. As Kakashi looked forward despite looking in his book at the same time, as he saw the boys fighting, he could tell that Menma was something special already, judging from who his mother was. And not to mention Naruto training him. The boy was going to be a powerhouse in the future, and Sasuke was trying his best to keep up with that, but he was just not good enough for Menma. Well, given Menma lineage, you could understand why. You know, it is really strange. As Naruto turned his head to the other side of the bench that he was sitting on, as Mikoto, a good friend of his, now was sitting there. The woman was kind and she was caring. She was like a mother to Menma, something that Naruto could really appreciate, as she loved Menma just like her own son. And for someone to be so grateful, selfless, was really incredible. People think of Jiraiya-sama as a pervert because he writes those books. Yet, you go around in broad daylight reading them, and those books are filled with nothing but smut. So, I wonder why no one literally called you a pervert as well. Well, Jiraiya go around announcing that he's a pervert, said Naruto. Kakashi's more for closet pervert. Yes, I suppose so, said Mikoto, as she giggled a bit. You guys do know I'm sitting right here, right, said Kakashi. Well, look where you are. In the open training ground, and yet you're reading that book. You know, if you ever corrupted Menma, I will take your entire copy of those books and burn it, right? And for the rest of your life, I will make sure you don't get your hands on a single one of them. You're joking, right, said Kakashi. Oh. Let him get mixed up in that and we see if I'm joking, said Naruto. Well, what if he just grows up to enjoy literature? Literature? Well, there are many more books in this world, said Naruto. What if I'm not responsible, said Kakashi. Well, you are near him, and you think of you as one of his precious person. So I'm gonna be blaming you, said Naruto. That's just not fair, said Kakashi. Oh no, said Naruto. Stop reading those books, and perhaps your collection will be safe. You can read them in private, but out in the open is a no-no. He's right, said Mikoto. Who knows what people might think, seeing you going around in broad daylight, giggling, and reading those books. As she said that, the two boys came over. Done for a date, Naruto asked. Yeah, he's tired of me kicking his ass. He's probably tired now. As Sasuke mumbled something. Sasuke? What was that? Said Mikoto. Oh, nothing, he said. Sasuke, she asked once again. I just said, no, the attention was on him. As he couldn't lie to his mother, she would definitely find out what he said. He had to find a way to... One time he overheard this conversation. Best time to use it. Hey Kakashi, me and Menma was wondering, what's that book you always read and giggle about? Kakashi gulped as he paused, as he felt two murderous gaze on him. Yeah, what's that book you're always reading? Rin-san always had me read a lot of books, but I never got to read that one before. Oh wait, I did one time, but I didn't really understand it. It was of this man, and he took this girl to the bathhouse, and he took off his clothes, and then he got on top of her, and Naruto snatched the book away from Kakashi as he ripped it to pieces. Menma, I never want to see you trying to read one of these books, okay? As Kakashi looked at his bare hands, it was gone so fast. A literal tear ran from his eye. But why, JJ? It's a bad book for bad people. So, Big Brother Kakashi's a bad person? In some ways, yes. Really? Big Brother Kakashi, you a bad person? As Kakashi hung his head in shame, his book was gone. Ah, Sasuke, I saw what you did there. Don't think that the attention has come off you. Now tell me, what was that you said a minute ago? As Satsuki looked toward his mother, her voice was sweet. Too sweet. And he did the best that he could do at the moment. He ran. He just ran. As Naruto simply laughed. As Mikoto smiled seeing him run off. As Sasuke knew that he would never escape because she would find him one way or another. He would get hungry. As Kakashi just sat there. As the man seemed to be in a sour mood. As he lost all will to live because his book was gone. Guess I should probably be burning your collection now, said Naruto, as he got to his feet. When he looked back to his side, Kakashi was gone. As that made Naruto laugh. Well, guess I'll find Sasuke. As Menma ran off as well. They're growing so fast, said Mikoto. Yeah, they are, said Naruto. You know, I'm worried, she said. As Naruto turned towards her. I'm worried about everything. I told you what happened to the Uchiha clan, and how a few of us were spared, and up to this moment we still don't know who was the culprit. I spoke to Hiruzen about that. He also has no idea. I can say for a certain that he doesn't know. But this is suspicious. Seems like someone wanted the Uchihas out of the way. But I have a good feeling that it's someone in this village. Why, she said. Think about it. How could someone get in so undetected and kill the fighting force of the Uchiha and get out? Yeah, I suppose you're right. But if I think that way, it made me think that we're not safe in here. But over the past years, there's been no attack at all, she said. But I'm still worried. Sasuke's want to become a shinobi like his brother. And this world is still dangerous. Despite people saying right now it's peaceful, I can see that it's not truly peaceful, she said. We still have problems with other nations, given what happened in the past. Sorry to say, but from what you did, and seeing that we were allies with the Uzumakis, we will never be trusted. We will always be feared by the nations, despite them thinking that you're gone. I do wonder though, you're walking out in the open. Has no one linked you back to what happened all those years ago? Well, not yet anyway, said Naruto. And you're not hiding your appearance or anything. Why should I be afraid, said Naruto. Well, I guess with how strong you are, you shouldn't. But I'm talking about the young ones. You don't have to worry about that. I'll make sure that they're ready. Huh? She said. Not just Menma. I'll make sure that Sasuke and Menma are strong enough so that they can protect themselves when they do indeed become a ninja. And you'll have nothing to worry about. Thank you, she said. For just not only looking after Menma, but looking after Sasuke as well. Well, I've been absent for most of his life already, and you've been the one there, looking after him. Something I'm really grateful for. Something that I can't even repay you for, said Naruto. Oh, it's nothing, she said. Kushina was my best friend. I'm sure she would have wanted this way. I'm just upset that she never got the chance to meet you. I'm sure she would have loved talking to her father. Yeah, me too, said Naruto. As Mikoto got to her feet, I think I'll be heading home now. I'll go look for Menma as well, said Naruto as the both of them got up. As they start to walk, as they exit a nearby training field, as they were passing through the park, they saw a couple. As they were kissing, as Mikoto looked towards them, and Naruto saw the look on her face. You know, I'm surprised. With what, she asked. With you, said Naruto. What do you mean, she asked. Well, given your standing, and not to mention your looks, I thought you'd have been remarried a long time ago. Oh well, as she scratched her cheek. Well, after all that happened, I just wanted to be there for my boys. I never thought about dating. Truly, I love Fukaku, and after he was taken away from me, it was hard. But I remained strong because I had to be there for my boys. Despite Itachi, and you saw how strong he is, his mental and physical state. He's still young. And losing his father like that. So I had to be the strong one. So you endure everything for them, said Naruto. Yeah, she said. But I did lose something that day. A part of my heart. Fukaku was my first love, she said. I can understand that, said Naruto. When you're with someone, and seeing them makes you smile, waking up next to them makes you happy. That's love. Yeah, that's how I used to feel, she said. But now he's gone. But I can't dwell on the past because if I do, I would just be sad. And my boys don't want to see me sad. And if I'm sad, they will be sad. And I don't want them to be sad. So I'll keep myself in check so I can be there for them. You're a wonderful mother, said Naruto. Thank you. And you're making a wonderful grandfather. Menma has nothing but praise to say about you. You're teaching him, and training him very well. I have no doubt. With you by his side, his goals can be fulfilled, and he will become Hokage. As Naruto smiled at that, his grandson had a dream after all, and he would ensure to see it come true. As long as these people can get over their selfish ways, and see that his grandson was a hero, who's willing to protect them all despite everything they have done to him. Time skip. Sasuke was pissed off. He didn't know why he was dragged into this. I am never coming back here, he whispered, as Menma sighed, an apologetic look on his face. Are you two focusing? Asked Rin, as the both of them returned back to studying. As Naruto sat there, here you go, said Rin, as she offered him some juice. Thanks, said Naruto. You know, they're getting quite angry. Well, it's not all just playing ninja is fighting. You have to have the right mindset, said Rin. And the both of them want to become great ninjas, so they have to have it up here as well, she said, as she tapped her head. Sasuke didn't know how the hell he was dragged into this. He just came by here. She had never told him that he needed to do it as well, but now she was forced into study. And with Naruto standing there, he knew that he was going to escape this, because Menma had to do it as well. Although he didn't want to say it, he refused to say it out loud, but he think that Naruto was stronger than Itachi, because he was just so fast, quick. And despite not having the Sharingan, he was different. He had the eyes of the Byakugan. Strangely enough, Sasuke simply mumbled to himself as he kept on working, as Rain smiled at them. Later that night, as Naruto was bringing Menma home, as the boy had exhausted himself in training, the boy was really pushing himself hard. Well, he had the chakra inside him to do it. He had the power, and it was coming out slowly, but it was there. As Naruto wasn't sure how strong Menma would come. After all, hybrids were always special. Half Otsutsuki, half something else, was always incredible. But Naruto wasn't quite sure how strong he would become. It was then that Naruto heard crying. He was close to the Hyuga compound. The Hyugas. He didn't really like them that much. They were family, and yet they put seals on their family. Half of their family was just, well, slaves. And Naruto didn't like them. It's not like he was one of them. They were actually members passed on from Otsutsuki's, and he was the original Otsutsuki, so it was like they were that special. He hated them. They placed seals on their own family. They were the complete opposite of the Uzumakis who loved their family. But the crying caught Naruto off guard because it was late in the night, as he didn't understand what was going on. As he followed the sound and made his way, when he arrived, it was behind the Hyuga compound, as he saw a girl there, as she was holding on to her hand as she seemed to be in pain, a small little child, as she had Byakugans. She looked up at him fearfully as she saw his eyes. I can explain, she said. As she noticed his clothing, he didn't look like a Hyuga the way he dressed, and his eyes were also a lot clearer than usual. Are you hurt? The little girl heard his soft, compassionate voice. It wasn't stern. Most of the branch members, when she was alone, they spoke to her in stern tone because of who her father was, and they didn't really like her that much. And they were supposed to be watching over her. She knew that she shouldn't be out here, but she had to get stronger. Everyone, the elders, her father, saw her as a pathetic weakling, and she had to prove that she wasn't one. But it didn't matter how hard she trained, she just couldn't. She was worthless. As she picked herself up, "No, I'm fine," she said. She put her hand behind her. As Naruto stepped forward before a clone poofed in the existence beside him, with just a flare of his chakra, as he handed Menma to the clone. As Menma snuggled upon the clone, the girl's eyes went wide when she finally noticed that he was holding on to Menma, she said. "Ah, so you know him," said Naruto. She blushed as she turned her head. Yeah, She was surprised that Naruto was next to her. As she was looking at him, he took her hand into his hand. As he placed his hand over it, she watched as a green color just flared up out of nowhere. The next moment her wrist was fine. She was trying to perform the basic katas, but she injured her arm. "Whoa, thank you," she said. As Naruto picked her up, she was surprised. What are you? You shouldn't be out here at a time like this. I'll bring you back home. Are you a Hyuga? She asks. No, said Naruto. But your eyes, they're different, said Naruto. But what are you doing out here? I was training, she said. Can you not bring me back at the front? Why? If my father knew that I sneaked out and the others did not see me, he would be angry at them, and they would just hate me even more. What do you mean? The branch member, she said. I don't want them to hate me anymore. I'm gonna sneak back around the back. You can put me down here. Oh, so you don't want them to notice, said Naruto. Well, I can help with that. As his fingers started to glow as he wrote something on her forehead, she felt the warm sensation of his chakra. As he did the same thing to him, the next moment they flew. Her eyes went wide, as she was surprised that they were actually flying. Now, where's your room? He asked. As she realized that they were over the Hyuga compound, she pointed right there. As he lowered himself, they're gonna see us. No, they won't. As Naruto dropped right into the center softly, and he literally walked past one of the guards. She was confused as she held her breath, thinking that they might hear them, but nothing. As Naruto brought her to her room and brought her up to the window, which he opened, as he placed her inside. What's going on? How did they see us? As Naruto absorbed the chakra from the seal that he placed on her. A little trick of mine, said Naruto, reflecting vision and sound. Whoa, that's amazing, she said. Thank you. It's no problem. Don't go sneaking out at night again, okay? She nodded. Thank you. What's your name? It's Naruto. A pleasure to meet you. She took his hand, and her small hand shook it gently. What's yours? My name is Hinata. Thank you for your help with my wrists, okay? As Naruto patted her on the head. Alright. Go get some sleep now, he said. As she nodded, as she watched as he flew off and gave her a tiny wave. He was so nice. But guys, to be instant, so right here, for one thing's important to do, like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on the bell notifications he posted. Remember, share to all of your friends and social media platform. But I'm off and I'll see you guys soon. Peace.